This week's project was sent in by Osman, and it's this STL file of a skull ring. Now, I don't have a 3D printer, but my friend Michael does, and he made this beautiful print of the ring. Michael has a channel here on YouTube called Nerdtronic, and if you're into 3D printing, you should definitely check it out. Let's let Michael tell you how he printed the ring.
I need to figure out how to orient it and where to place supports. This isn't something that can just be printed right on the build plate. So all this yellow area, that's where we need some kind of support structure. And when we remove supports, it can leave a little pock mark, and in between supports you can see some kind of warping. So by rotating the ring, we can control where the supports need to be, and therefore where the least amount of damage is going to happen. So the question is, what orientation to print it at so that the important surfaces will come out as clean as possible. The important surface is the face of the ring, the skull. And then the ring part you also want to be as clean as possible, but it's easier to fix print imperfections on the ring than the skull. Also inside the skull under here, this isn't flat. It has a pocket under here, and that might have been done to lower the weight of it. Like if it was made out of metal, you'd lower the weight by hollowing this out. But that does pose a problem for 3D printing it. But it also kind of doesn't matter what that looks like under there, I wouldn't think. I think if I rotate it like this, then under here, these supports can go straight down to the build plate. They don't have to connect to the inside of the ring, and that would mean that there'd be less to clean up. So I'm going to try to print it in this orientation like this. And again, it doesn't matter if there's imperfections under the skull because no one's going to see under there. You can have the software automatically add supports, so let's see what that looks like. Okay, honestly, this doesn't look good to me. It's connecting to the side, which is weird. So I'm going to do the supports manually. Just adding them all around here, kind of close together. Do this one on the side to kind of support that little part there. And then kind of connect them a little bit to kind of add some stability to these structures. Okay, and here's the final. And I duplicated it so I can print 3 of them at the same time. That way we have an extra if something goes wrong. Okay, these supports did a pretty good job, but there was a little warping on the bottom curve of the ring. That's the part that was closest to the build plate and facing the build plate, and that's where you're going to have the most problems. Since I printed 3, I decided to clean up one of them quite a bit, the second one only a little bit, and then the third one I left as is. And all I did was just a little sanding and polishing to clean up that warping. All right, well, have fun.
As I always do whenever I'm dealing with a 3D printed part, I like to make a little cure test. A little rubber test to see if I'm going to get any cure inhibition. Just looking at it, I'm going to say no, but you never know because sometimes the rubber can cure, but not cure at the surface. Let's see what we got. Oh yeah, no, that's perfect. Good. All right, nothing left on there. Cured up fine. So no problem with this particular resin. Worked like a champ. Time to sprue up this little ring. And to that effect, I just took a piece of aluminum wire, 1/8" aluminum wire, drilled a hole and jammed it into one of my beautiful little homemade funnels. Yeah, see in there how deep that hole is in down there? That's a deep hole, doesn't need to be there. Let's use it. And let's jam the wire down in there like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a nice big dollop of sticky wax and drop it down into that well. And then I'm going to take some sticky wax and put it all over the tip. So let's see if we can't jam that in there like that. One of the things that I did lately was I bought this plenty pack of wax wires, fine jeweler's wax wires. This is the size of the sprue wax that I normally use, but there's some nice fine sizes in here, and that's going to come in handy. There's another thing that's in here that I like, and there's these are half, and that is most handy for a lot of things. What I want to do is I want to fill in this hole down there and also make this connection between the ring and the sprue stronger. So let's take some wax here. It's not going to hurt one little bit to fill up that hole down in there. And it's going to make for a strong connection. Okay, so I'm just going to hold that until that cures up. All right, so I filled that well down in there, and I attached the sprue really well, so it's strongly attached. Then I went ahead and I attached 2 vents, and you can see them, the blue vents, right there. Now this thing, when it pours, it's going to hang in space just like that. So we're going to pour the resin in through here, and it's going to flow down to the bottom, rise up, and you can see the 2 high points on the models. One's right here, and one is right here. And when that resin reaches those high points, it's going to force the air out the vents. So it's all about where you put your vents. So that's how it's going to hang in space when it's in a mold, but it's going to be like that when I pour it. You always mount the model upside down in the cup when you go to pour it. Break out the sticky wax as usual. Get a good dollop of sticky wax on there. Nice run of sticky wax. Smear it all around. Pop it into the cup like that. Press it ever so lightly. And there it is. Beautiful. Sitting in the cup and looking good. You can see how I'm letting the rubber flow around. Wants to start at the bottom of the cup and rise up to meet the part. So now it's starting to rise up around the part at the back where I'm pouring. I'm going to tip it. I want that rubber to flow up under there. Ooh, I didn't want to do that. That's what I didn't want to do. Now we're going to watch that. If that happens to you, what I just did was I draped the part, and I don't love that. I don't want to see that because that's how you can catch bubbles. So what I'm going to do is just make sure that I work that material out of there so I know I didn't catch any bubbles around those teeth. Not the end of the world, but not something I wanted to do. Looks like it's filling up inside very nicely. Now we want it to fill the face nicely. So let's keep filling. You can see it filling those nostrils. Well, that's pretty good. I completely eyeballed the amount of rubber I needed. Just guessed. Okay, we're done. Beautiful. Time to cut a mold. But before we do, we got to remind ourselves of what it is we actually have to do here. So we have a little bit of an interesting challenge. We've got this ring that looks a little like this. Right? Here's the thing. I've got a hole that we've got to cut through, but remember, we also have a nice, beautiful funnel coming out of there. So that gives us 2 problems. We're going to need a cut line around the perimeter of the hole because we've got to cut the 2 halves. It's got to, it's got to cut this way and it's got to open this way. So it's got to cut like that. But we also need a parting line going this way to release out. So that makes for a more interesting and more complex cut arrangement. Just look at this ring from a top view. We're going to have a cut that's going to cut this to free this, and it's going to cut this and this. So what we're looking at is crisscross cuts, and you can never do that. You can never do that in a clay mold. You just can't do it. It only works in cut molds. It's one of the big advantages to cut molds. Let's get going and see if we can't actually pull this off, or it could just fail catastrophically and ruin my reputation, humiliate me. You never know. You don't know until you know. This plastic cup's pretty tough. This is one of them quality cups. Okay, beautiful. get that out of the way. You can see what we're looking at on the bottom. I'm looking at the bottom of the funnel. Okay, let's do a little trim job. I always like to do these little trim jobs. Brand new blade in the old X-Acto, so we're nice and sharp. And that way we can cut easier. Where are the vents? There they are, right there. So we know we're going to cut down along those vents. The vents on the other side. Let's see how hard it's going to be to pop this. I don't know. This might be a little bit harder to pop out. Oh, no, no, no. I got it. I got it. All right. Got the funnel and the sprue and one of the vents out. So now we know which way we've got to cut. We've got to cut straight down. Get that little chunk of vent wax out of there. We've got to come and cut straight down like this. Yeah, that little vent is right there. The opposite side, same thing. We're going to cut down the vent. I want to cut nice and jaggy. Now we can pull that vent out of there. And where are we at? Almost to the ring. Okay. Other side, same drill. Cut jaggy. Now what I need to do is I need to start making the cut going around. So what I'm doing is I'm stretching the rubber as hard as I can so I can cut that bridge out of there, which I did on that side perfectly. So that's going to free that side. Now we just need to free the other side. Do the same thing. We're going to stretch that rubber because we want that bridge to be inside of the ring. Okay, did it. That's the back of the ring. Okay, good. Okay, so that ought to all come out. And now we've got to cut. This is going to be somewhat tricky because we've got to cut this out in here. I've got it cut pretty good. Let's see, I pulled it all the way out, so there's no bridge, is there? Let's see. Let's see what we can do here. What is that? What is that? That's something mysterious and weird. I always like coming up with mysterious, weird things in my molds. It's like there's a chunky in my mold. Is this a piece of pollution in my mold? Okay. Got to cut this other little, there's two little tiny holes on either side of the skull, and I've got to cut through them. For a little dinky mold, this has got a pretty complex cut pattern. Got it. Okay, now this should just come out. Should come out. See if it does. Yeah, it does. Okay, good. Whoo! You put up a battle. See, these little holes in here, right there. See those right there? And one on the other side. I had to cut through those bridges. Now, the next thing is I need to cut open to release this. This is not going to fly unless I release this. There we go. Got it. Okay. The weird thing is that there's a chunky in my mold. Boy, I can't remember the last time what is that? What on earth is that that's sticking into my mold? So there's a little, looks like a little chunk of wood that got mixed into the rubber. I don't like that. See, there's this little tiny thing right there. Okay, I'm not a big fan of that, but oh well. See how it closes up. Oh yeah. Oh, it's just going to close up perfectly. Look at that thing close up. See, this is why we love cut molds so much. Look at that thing close up. Look at that. It's just, look at that. Look at the parting line. You know, this crazy, nutty party line to release this thing. I mean, look at that parting line. It's nuts. But it will just close up as tight as you can be. Just like that. Beautiful. We are ready to pour some resin. Let's get out the old rubber bandage. It's not going to take a lot of rubber bands. Now, obviously, that's not going to work. It doesn't fit. So you do the old knot trick. Tie a knot in it. Make the rubber band fit your mold. It only took me a decade or two to discover that little tip. Give it to you guys for free. For free. Okay. Boy, this is just not going to consume a lot of rubber bands, is it? Maybe 3. We'll give it 3 just for fun. Let's do this thing. Okay, we got our rubber bands on. We're good to go. Let's take our cups. Got our A and B cups. We don't need a lot of material because this ring is small. So let's pour a little A in the cup. Not a lot. I like to dispense out of cups as opposed to dispensing out of these big old giant jugs, which are a pain to handle. This is the B side, and this manufacturer wants us to shake the B side. Shook it earlier. Let's give it another extra shaking. Shaking and baking. Beautiful. I have this resin is not naturally red. I dyed it red for an earlier job. And I still have leftover res, so let's use it up. Just a little bit of B. We're not going to need a lot. We got a cup, mixed cup. We're going to tear the scale, which means to balance it. Let's get it balanced up. I've got a couple of extra little molds if I need them. So let's mix a 30 batch just for fun. So 30 would be a 15. Let's go 10 on the A. Comes to 10. We're at 13 and a half. 14. Almost there. This scale weighs to an accuracy of 1/10 of a gram, which is why I love it with all my heart. Okay, add in the B side. Okay, so are we almost to 30? Coming up to 30. All right, it's ready to go. Let's mix. Make sure it's really mixed up good. Now, after we do the first one, obviously, we can just weigh it. Then we'll know exactly how much resin to mix up for each ring casting. Okay. That's well mixed to me. Let's pour this baby. Okay, up it comes. Rose up both pipes. Beautiful. Okay, we have extras. This is why we make funnels. I'm going to need these funnels on the next project. All right, let's run these over to the tank. Beautiful, and you can hear the compressor working away down there, kicked on. Nice. All right, witness cup time. Had lots of extra in the cup. Wasted a little. Rock hard. Beautiful. I got my little pour funnels. Might as well pop those. Very nice. Another handy pour funnel. I think I'll make a bunch of those. All right, those look good. Those look good. Let's go pull that thing out of the tank. Seal off the tank. Open the outlet valve. Beautiful. Okay, nice. Nice and hard. Let's check it out. All right, excitement time, fun and games time. This is what we live for. This is what we wait for. Did we do it? Or have we made a catastrophic error? Have we made yet another catastrophic fail? Let us see. Is it gonna come out? Is it gonna come out? Are you gonna come out, buddy? Are you gonna come out for me? Come on. Are you gonna release out? There you come. There you go. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my God. A little bit of distortion pulling it out, but no biggie. It'll come right back into shape. Ah, that looks pretty good. Look at that. Let's hold this up close so you can see it. Not a bubble in sight. All right, let's cut this thing. Real eager to cut it while it's all soft still. Cut it out. Ooh, that cut really nice. Okay. This is why I like to cut things when they're fresh out of the molds. They just cut super easy. And then it's a simple enough matter to chisel off the extra plastic. Now, and if you take your time, I'm doing it kind of fast because I don't want to waste a lot of your time, but you get it. You take your time and you can really carve it down nice. Like that. Nice. Boy, I tell you what, it is clean. There, it's just, look at that. There's a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. You see right there? There's our parting line right there. That's a cut line. All the other cut lines completely invisible, completely hidden. Just another absolute triumph of casting. Couldn't be more pleased. I think I'll have to make a few of these. These are fun. Note the holes. There's a tiny, tiny bit of flash around this hole. Just such minimal cleanup to be done. The only real cleanup is going to be where the vent's attached here, and you can see what a light sanding job that's going to be to clean those up. It's like nothing. Very little work. Just the way I like it. Little tiny bit of flash on the inside. See, I like to hide. All the parting lines are hidden on the inside where they don't matter so much, and they're easy to clean out. Just run some sandpaper in there, boom, done. Boy, that is a towering, raging, beauteous of a success. Couldn't be more pleased. Excellent. I made up a bunch of different colors just for fun, cast them up, and they all came out really good. And along the way, I also poured a bunch of funnels, even though I knew what the first one weighed and I could have just mixed enough resin to pour the other three. I mixed enough resin to pour some extra funnels because I knew I needed them. But on top of that, I also got the cut-off sprues. And strongly recommend you hang on to these because these are very useful for future projects. So I've got a pretty large collection of cast-off sprues and vents. Always hang on to those. It's a good idea. If you'll recall, I connected the sprue to the inside, deep inside that well, and I do have a little post. Let's see if I can hold this close enough where you can see that post in there. That's no bueno, but there's a quick way to get rid of it. Break out the handy dandy Dremel, and I put a little burr bit on the end. And it's just the perfect thing to get in there. And obviously, you take your time, and neat as you please, you can shave down that burr. I got Dremel dust all over me. Hey, I hope you liked this project. It was a lot of fun for me to make, and I hope you got something out of it. If you did like it, hit the like button because it's the best thing you can do to help the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.